everyone, wherever you are. Ohayou gozaimasu. My name is Oscar Huerta. I'm a project manager and policy analyst on urban development at the OECD Center for Entrepreneurship, SMEs, Regions, and Cities. I am delighted to welcome you to this webinar to launch the OECD report on smart city data governance, challenges and the way forward, that has been championed by the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism of Japan. And today's discussion will focus on how national and local governments are overcoming the challenges, or what the strategies they have implemented to overcome the challenges of data governance to make the most of smart city initiatives. Before we begin, I would like to say a few housekeeping points. The first one is that we are recording the webinar, for our records. Please note that there's also interpretation in English and Japanese is available. You can see the icon on the lower part of your screen. You can use the chat function to contact our support team for any technical difficulty that you might experience. And this is a Zoom webinar format, so therefore not everybody can take the floor. And we invite you to use the Q&A function to share your thoughts and address the panelists. You may also direct your questions and comments to specific panelists who might wish to respond in writing if we don't have the time to do so live. We'll also have some moments for a Q&A after after the discussion panels. The speakers will have 7 minutes maximum to make an intervention, and please feel free to engage with us on X, or formerly Twitter, using the handle @OECD_local and the hashtag @OECD Smart Cities or OECD Urban. So to start this webinar, I would like to give the floor to my colleagues, Sujin Kim, the Deputy Head of the Cities, Urban Policies and Sustainable Development Division, to say a few words to start this webinar.
Thank you, Oscar. Actually, Nadim has just joined, our Deputy Director, Nadim Ahmad, is here.
All right. Sorry, thank you. I didn't have not seen Nadim. Nadim, welcome.
Apologies, Oscar, and apologies to all of you as well. There's some confusion here, and I guess that's a testament to the fact that we need smart cities, because, of course, I had a bit of a nightmare getting in this morning, and I guess that a lack of data played no small part in that. My train was stuck in a tunnel for an awful long time, so I apologize, but I'm here. A bit exhausted, but I'm here. So let me begin by thanking you all for joining us at this virtual event, and let me thank you also, Minister Odera, for your participation too. I mean, the contribution from the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism has been, I think, essential in helping us develop this very strong work programme. A work programme that I think I can certainly testify to this morning. It's of crucial importance because, of course, it makes a big difference for all of us. But it's also, of course, I think, important for a number of different reasons that we'll discuss during the course of this particular webinar. Challenges, for example, around data creation, collection, storage, use, protection, access, sharing, deletion. And these are all essential components of smart city data governance. And I think that's a critical challenge. Now, of course, the work that we're presenting today builds on a whole litany of work that's been produced within the OECD. We started many years ago on our Going Digital project. And that showed that, of course, there's an essential need to have a balance between data openness and control. So, of course, that governance issue comes through very clearly on that front. And in 2022, we also had a declaration on government access to personal data held by private sector entities, which called for improving trust in cross-border data flows. And that, of course, is very much in line with Japan's own Data Free Flow with Trust initiative. And in 2020, within my centre, of course, we also produced an OECD G20 report on leveraging digital technology and data for human-centric smart cities. And that emphasised that managing data wisely is central to capturing the benefits from smart mobility in particular. Now, the report that we build on today, of course, reflects all of that body of work and builds on it and adds to it. And of course, it comes in a context of this data deluge. We have a wealth of tsunami almost of data, and of course that's creating, I think, opportunities but also challenges. And that tsunami of data, I think, has been I think, exemplified in a number of different fora. And we have our own statistics, I think, to give some illustration of that. But of course, I think one of the important points is that despite this data deluge, very little of that data was actually being used in production of services by cities. In fact, very little of that data is being used writ large. I mean, we see perhaps more of it being used in the business sector and less in the government sector. And I guess that reflects a number of different challenges that we're going to, I think, discuss today. The first, of course, is the issues around the ability of subnational governments and indeed national governments to actually finance the ability to use that data. So there are, I think, challenges in making sure that we have the right finance available to drive the ability to leverage on data. Argentina, I think, and the Netherlands provide very good examples of how that can be done, and providing, by making sure they have data sharing arrangements amongst a wide range of stakeholders that can facilitate the maintenance and sustainability of the data ecosystem. And a second challenge, and this again is going to be discussed during the course of this webinar, concerns the actual skills of the individuals within the public sector who are supposed to be managing this data. And of course, we see big gaps, I think, in those skills capacities. In the UK, for example, we have estimates that show that 90% of senior civil servants need upskilling on digital and data essentials. And I think I could probably certainly include myself amongst them, that cohort of individuals. A third challenge reflects the digital technologies that are prone to data leaks and cyber attacks. And in the OECD area, on average, almost one internet user out of 4 reported experiencing a digital security incident in 2015. But cities can do an awful lot to strengthen their cybersecurity by fostering ethics in the local public sector. And we have some very good examples from Bilbao, but also from Chicago and Madrid, I think, that helps in that. So I'm going to end there. I think those are perhaps three really important examples, but there are many other challenges that you'll be discussing over the course of this webinar. And I hope that perhaps some of you will come up with some completely new ideas that we haven't actually thought about at all. So with that, Deputy Minister and colleagues, I will leave you all to the next opening remarks and look forward to a fantastic conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadim. He was Nadim Ahmad, our Deputy Director at the OECD Center for Entrepreneurship, SMEs, Regions and Cities. Thank you, Nadim, for your opening remarks. And now I am delighted to introduce Mr. Seiichi Onodera, Deputy Minister for International Projects at the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism of Japan. Mr. Onodera, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to deliver the opening remarks on behalf of the government of Japan at the launching event of the OECD report, Smart City Data Governance, Challenges and the Way Forward. First of all, I would like to commend the work delivered by the OECD CFE under the leadership of Director Lamia Kamal Shawi and Deputy Director Nadim Ahmad. Through the sharing of objective data and insight reports and the engagement of governments and international institutions in dialogues, the CEF has contributed significantly to each country's regional, urban, and rural policies. I also want to express our heartfelt appreciation for the fact that this joint research has brought Japan and the CFE closer together, deepening our ties. Since December 2021, together with the CFE, we have conducted a survey to analyze issues related to data governance in smart cities and the good practices of national and local governments in each country. The report has now been compiled, including measures to advance data governance initiatives based on various good practices in each country. We are very pleased that the Secretariat will present the report at today's event and provide a forum to disseminate its message to the world and exchange views with national governments and local authorities in each country. We believe that the free flow of data within a trustworthy framework is at the core of the digital economy, and that it is also significant to improve data governance in smart cities. The concept of data free flow with trust, DFFT, aims to promote the free flow of data while ensuring trust in privacy, security, and intellectual property rights. It was proposed by former Prime Minister Abe at the World Economic Forum annual meeting held in Geneva, Switzerland in January 2019. The concept has gained support from many countries and is spreading around the world. We believe that the CFE report released today contains many policy recommendations and analyses that will contribute to solving various data governance issues in each country and cities. We sincerely hope that the policy recommendations and good practices laid out in this report will be instrumental in global nations' short-term or long-term policy making. Finally, I hope that this event will be filled with takeaways for all participants, and I would like to express my gratitude to all parties involved for their kind contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Onodera. Arigatou gozaimashita for your kind words. And yeah, it's been a pleasure to work with EMBLIT all these months on these very interesting projects, and I hope we will have the opportunity to continue this work in the future. Thank you very much indeed. So now I would like to start by moving to the first session, which basically is the presentation of the some of the main points that are covered in the report, and I will do it on behalf of the OECD team. So this is, as has been mentioned, it's a project that was, as you know, championed by the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism of Japan. And it's a review of international experience of how to improve data governance in smart cities, considering that data produced or collected through digital technologies is a cornerstone of smart city projects. And this data is used for improving decision making in many countries. The rationale for this project is that the uptake of digital technologies and infrastructure is basically accelerating. It is forecasted that nearly 2/3 of the global population will have internet access, and the number of devices connected to IP networks will be more than 3 times the global population by the end of this year. So we're talking about around almost 30 billion network devices connected to internet. So digital transformation is allowing for collecting and managing data, enabling governments and the private sector to provide better public services. At least that's the aim that is followed. Next, please. So to start this discussion, we need to understand, to clarify what we mean by data governance. There are many definitions of data governance across the literature, but for the OECD, in the committees for digitalization, we understand data governance as all those arrangements, including technical, policy, regulatory, institutional provisions that affect data and their creation, collection, storage, use, protection, access, sharing, and deletion, including across policy domains and organizational and national borders. All those diverse arrangements that have to do with data collection, storage, etc. This is what we are going to understand by data. An important part of this report is that smart cities are a blend of institutions, processes, urban actors, and technology. And the smart cities aim at providing sustainable, reliable, and inclusive environments for people to thrive. And to do that, they utilize data applications to interconnect and integrate information generated via digital technologies that are embedded in the city's infrastructure. Therefore, for smart cities, ICT provides an infrastructure and a means as well for collecting data from various sources of data of the city, integrating into the data into useful information, communicating the results, resulting information among city services, and supporting decision makers with collective intelligence that is based on exchange information. As we can see, data for smart cities is a cornerstone of these applications, and they are used to inform decision-making processes in public and the private sector. There are some issues here. for data governance. The first one is that is the enormous amounts of data that is being collected and fed to data-driven smart city applications. According to estimates, more than 50% of that data comes from IoT devices. And the problem is that it's only 1% of all data that is being used to foster innovation and create value in both the public and private sectors. It's not only, perhaps also, it's not only a problem of the amount of data that is growing very rapidly, but the problem is also the capacity to store the data. And according to estimates, only 2% of data produced in 2020 has been saved or retained into the following year. So this is one of the key problems that cities in general face when talking about data. The other thing is the different data quality levels that they have, because this brings about data management for cities, brings about challenges that goes from data quality, security, privacy issues, to semantics and the interpretation of data. And therefore, the governance of a smart city, what it has to do, one of the main aims is to improve, for example, data quality, to force the desired impacts of smart city applications and contain any undesired impact to increase trust of stakeholders and foster the growth of smart cities and their benefits. Next one. One of the things that has perhaps allowed for the creation of data for smart cities is that thanks to the sustained technological progress, ICT products have become more cheaper and more powerful over time, as you can see in these charts. These trends, coupled with the continuous widening of network availability, functionalities, applications, and content, have played a major role in promoting the use of ICT products. From, as you can see in the chart, from 2000 to 2018, while consumer prices increased about 45% on average in the OECD area, the prices of communication-related products decreased by more than 20%. Price dynamics vary between ICT goods and services, certainly, but at least according to the studies that conducted here at the OECD, in the Euro area and the United States, for which detailed indices can be computed, prices decreased by 10 to 25% for telecommunication services and fell 80% or more for ICT goods. And this has been one of the things that have been fostering the use of these technologies for smart cities, as cities tend to have more easier access to technology at a lower cost. Next one. However, this challenge, this access to technology is one thing, but as I was saying, there are several challenges for cities when we refer about data governance. We can group them in different ones: organizational, informational, and technical challenges. Nadim, in his intervention, was already mentioning some of these challenges. The limited funding for data management as part of smart cities is one of those. The fact that, for example, data or public information has to be open and generally free of charge, whereas the private sector data is cities normally have to pay for that data, doesn't make any good business sense for cities, for example. They have limited resources for improving the technologies and the practice in data management. We also have the fields of politics, the politics of data, with different actors from different roles of life, and they all have different interests in data, in the use of data. Data also comes from different fields. It comes from is keeping silos, and it has been regulated by in many times by fragmented regulations. It's one of the problems that we notice that cities are experiencing when they're trying to use data for smart cities. Another issue is, as Nadim mentioned, is the lack of skills and capacity for data management at local level. In many cities, the cities that we interview for this report mention the problem that they do not have access to people with the right skills, for example, data analytics, people with those skills to be able to help them in managing their projects. And there's certainly the issue of trust in cities. that people do not have high levels of trust in general in cities' capacity for data management and ensuring data safety. There's also the issue, informational issues, the issue of confidentiality and privacy breaches, the threats of cyber attacks that are some of the key elements that have to be considered when designing a smart city strategy. The limited participation of SMEs, that is an important issue because they sometimes do not participate in smart city projects due to outdated infrastructure, data silos, and limited funding, for example. There's also another problem that we have observed, and certainly the management of data itself. That needs to be ensured that the data that is managed in this as part of smart cities has the right quality, is secure, it ensures privacy, it's understood by everyone, so it has follows certain standards. And there's also the issue of the technical problems, the issues of interoperability that we will refer to in one of the discussion sessions today. The need that cities have to monitor the use of smart city applications and the integration of smart city applications and sensors into all the city's infrastructure. That is not only a technical issue, but also a financial issue for many cities. So as you can see, these are some of the challenges that we could track while analyzing different experiences of data governance as part of smart city projects across OECD countries and non-OECD countries. This is something that were presented once and again. Next one. And one of the most important issues that perhaps came across is the issue of ensuring data privacy and security. So some of the most important ones. And one of the tasks of data governance is certainly to offer a common basis to use data in order to attain shared goals, shared policy goals, and promote trust. This is very important. Unlocking the value of data requires building of trust. Many initiatives at national and subnational level of government tend to go in that direction. And here in the OECD considers trust as one of as core to becoming a data-driven public sector, which applies equally well to the city level, certainly. The thing here is that local governments in general have higher levels of trust or higher levels of people's trust than national governments. This is what OECD has normally found. Trust in local institutions seems to be closely related to the quality of public services and day-to-day policies. And more than half of people interviewed that participated in this exercise for collecting information on trust say that they are more likely to share their data with local governments than with national governments. This is what we found rather interesting as part of that. So this places cities in a more advantageous position to conduct smart cities because they enjoy normally higher levels of trust than the national government. And but this level of trust certainly varies depending on every country, as you can see here in this figure. Next. One of the things that we need that was key for this report is to check or to analyze, review how national governments are enabling data governance framework for smart cities, because the work normally starts at the national level. So a key aspect is to analyze the contribution of this report, certainly. A key aspect was to analyze the contribution of national governments. Why? Because national policies and budgets often define what is possible through everything from building codes to infrastructure investments, and can accelerate or stifle urban transformation. Some of the initiatives that governments can do or have been doing so as to foster smart city projects and better data governance are, for example, the adoption of a national smart city framework that, where it exists, introduces an articulated public agenda for smart cities in a given country, whatever it is, and provides a framework to index smart city initiatives. Here you have some examples of some of these smart city frameworks. And as part of that, some countries are also setting up an organization in charge at the center of managing all these initiatives of smart city and data management. And this is very important because this highlights or signals the highest political support to the digital government agenda and provides the opportunity to mainstream digitalization in the public sector modernization strategy. Certainly, there's no rule about who's better positioned to lead a smart city strategy or data management. Everything depends on the particular administrative arrangements of every country and the main focus of the strategy. For example, in Switzerland, it's the Swiss Federal Office of Energy that leads the Swiss City Switzerland initiative because it focuses on the smart environment and intelligent mobility. Whereas in Canada, Infrastructure Canada is a leading body because it focuses on infrastructure investment and to build cities and promote innovation. So that depends on the core priorities of every government. Another important point is the setting of partnerships to strengthen the smart city initiatives. We'll hear today, for example, the experience of the Netherlands in setting public-private partnerships for smart cities. And this framework for partnerships helps governments to coordinate activities and investments with the private sector and stakeholders from different areas, from NGOs, academia, and community as a whole. Also, Japan has set the Smart City Public-Private Partnership Platform to accelerate the Smart Cities initiatives with companies, universities, and research institutions. Another important part is certainly the adoption of regulatory framework for handling data and protection. There's a wide range of laws and regulations for data protection and usage of that data across different countries. And that another aspect that is rather important is that many countries are setting standards for smart cities and a national data strategy. And the thing is that for data to be shared effectively, that is part of a smart city program or initiative, it is essential to develop a comprehensive common standard or a unified ontology adopted across the board to handle data for different sources and fields. For example, in India, they have the data exchange framework as a way to set the standards for data management. And in the UK, we have the British Standard Institute, the PD-A100, that sets the standards on smart cities and data management. And finally, another important thing is that governments are implementing measures to enable the participation of a wide range of stakeholders into the smart city projects and data management, which is important because data will come from very different ways of life. Next one. This is what I just mentioned is what cities, national governments have been doing to promote the smart, better data governance as part of smart city projects. But what cities are particularly doing? Well, smart cities, the idea of smart cities is to use data purposefully through a tailored strategy. The experience of several countries suggests that before designing a platform, coding algorithm, acquiring and deploying digital technologies, governments need to identify the challenges first and consider the value creation and broader outcomes of possible solutions, because those solutions should be tailored to the city's unique context and its specific social and cultural needs. And sometimes solving the challenges of a city doesn't require large investments in technology. And therefore, it's important to start with a national vision and a strategy at the national level that should be applied or normally is applied at the local level to inform smart city initiatives. And to lead that initiatives at local level, some cities are defining strategic leadership in the form of chief data officer to guide implementation of data governance and certainly the smart city initiatives. An important thing that we found that caught our attention is that cities are developing a methodology for data collection. It's not only an issue of collecting data and storing data, but it's also, and there should be also a methodology for data collection to guide the scope and purpose. And here the experience of London shows that it is important to have not only standards for data quality, but also a clear methodology for data collection and analysis. The London Office of Technology and Innovation, LOTI, has developed this methodology, an outcome-based methodology, that intends to prevent organizations from wasting time collecting data that they may not even need, as it adds no extra value to their decision-making and doesn't enable new actions. So this is something that we found as a rather interesting initiative It's not just collecting data for the sake of it, but we need to focus on what data is necessary depending on the outcome we want to achieve. And addressing privacy concerns is certainly an issue that the smart cities are focusing a lot to foster trust in smart city projects and data management, for example, through opt-out procedures as is done in Takamatsu City in Japan. Next one. And as I was saying, smart cities are trying to address all these data privacy concerns as part of the data governance arrangements. The defense is that the use of digital technologies as part of the smart city projects is giving place to a phenomenon that is called datafication. What I mean by datafication, which is a concrete phenomenon in which situations or actions are transformed into data. We have mobile phones and sensors everywhere, and even movements or calls that we make can be also transformed into data. So this is what we call datafication, that is leading to the creation of a lot of data and creating concerns about data privacy. And this data privacy, or protecting data privacy, should be central to any smart city data governance arrangements. To address privacy concerns, cities require, this is what we notice in the different initiatives or experiences that we analyze or explore, to smart cities need to address privacy concerns. They require a suite of solutions, as there is no single solution to a problem that is political, technical, and ethical. So some of the solutions could be market-driven to ensure compliance with privacy regulations, for example, technology solutions through the use of private enhancing technologies, and governance solutions created a principle-led governance and response to ethical management of data. For example, Bilbao has a data manifesto to enforce the ethical management of data. This is part of the solutions that cities are exploring to ensure data privacy. Next one. Another important point, and this is what we are going to discuss today, is the issue of interoperability. In smart cities, data challenges are not only caused by the secondary use of data. That means the data is used for a different purpose that is normally collected for. There's also the challenge that data have to be shared with others in an appropriate way, I mean, in good quality, to fully exploit the potential of data. We can see that when we see examples of smart mobility or in initiatives such as mobility as a service. And therefore, governments need to, or different partners participating in smart city need to be ready to share their data. And for that, we need interoperability to enable a more efficient city administration of cities so as to facilitate the sharing of data across different actors and levels of government at different locations in a secure way. And some of the examples that we explore and we found rather interesting is the one of the Seoul Metropolitan Government that has created a system for data management to respond to future challenges preemptively and leverage advanced technology to build confidence in smart cities. This system is known as the 6S model for smart city infrastructure. But it's a simple system, but it's a comprehensive one for the convergence and linkage of high tech and data. You can see this system here in the slide. I will not explain it because it's in the report, but just want to highlight that the key message from this experience of Seoul is that even if a city has a technology for building data management platforms, it is essential to have first the policies in place to make all this process of interoperability work. And in London, again, the experience of the City of London says that cities need a simple, well-known and trusted technical means to share data among different departments and stakeholders. Sometimes cities don't really need to have very complex infrastructure platforms to share data. But this is something, and this is an area that we are going to explore later on in today's event. Next one. And to conclude, after analyzing different initiatives in covering different areas of data and data governance, all these initiatives led us to conclude that to improve data governance, smart cities require action in 5 areas. In the report, you will see these 5 areas with specific actions for national governments and for city governments. These actions, these 5 areas are, the first one is to define goal strategies and structures, basically is to have a vision, a long-term vision for smart cities and data. The second area is to improve data management practices and developing digital literacy. That's also very important. The third one is to ensure data protection and privacy and transparency in data use. The fourth one are issues related to interoperability through cooperation to facilitate data sharing, and also to strengthen co-creation is another important area. To strengthen co-creation and stakeholders' participation in the smart cities and data management infrastructure. There are different areas or ways in which national and city governments are doing this. And if you want to have a look, is also in the report, the different areas and the different, let's say, proposals that come from the experience that we analyze through the different initiatives that we review for this project. So So next one. So this is what we are presenting today. These are just some of the highlights that are included in the Smart City Data Governance report that we are launching today. That was requested by the government of Japan, and that we found that it has been rather high interest in many other countries on the issue of data governance, and also at national and subnational levels of government. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention to this. And the report is now available in the OECD website. You saw the link in the last slide. And to react to this report, just would like to give the floor to Mrs. Shikiko Tatsushima, Deputy Director of the International Policy Division in MLIT, to say a few words about this report. Shikiko, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Oscar. My name is Shikiko Tatsushima, a Deputy Director of International Policy Division of Policy Bureau of MLIT. I'd like to make a few comments on the report. Firstly, as Onodera Deputy Minister said, the free flow of data within a trustworthy framework is at the core of the digital economy and is significant to improve data governance in smart cities. It is important for a wide range of participants from various fields and organizations to be able to freely utilize reliable data, which will in turn increase productivity, accelerate innovation, and bring sustainable development to cities. On the other hand, in order to ensure the availability of reliable data, it is essential to establish confidence in the protection of the data and privacy, as well as intellectual property rights and data security. Therefore, to achieve the goal of the DFT vision, it is essential to promote rules such as privacy, security, and intellectual property issues, and ensure technologies such as security technology and improve data quality, such as accuracy, updated, and comprehensive data set to build trust in government and its stakeholders. Here, I'd like to give one good initiative on the data sharing and effective usage in Japan that is included in the report. To use data more effectively in the framework of smart city initiatives, cities are building data linkage platforms that enable mutual linkage and sharing of data with relative ease. And cities are also using IT platforms to share data across administrative departments and enhance data sharing with neighboring cities in the framework of smart city initiatives. City governments generally implement a platform to collect, store, and share data from multiple sources, such as mobile phones, computers, cameras, sensors, and others. The purpose is to collect data that can be used to provide better services, contributing to well-being and reducing costs for the city government. For example, since 2017, the city of Takamatsu in Japan has been building an IoT common platform using 5Air as a cross-disciplinary linkage platform. The platform can be used in any combination to suit the requirement of the users. The platform includes a test environment where universities and private companies can run tests with the data collected. In 2020, the neighboring municipalities of the town of Ayagawa and the city of Kannoji decided to use a common IoT platform of the city Takamatsu by signing a collaboration agreement to form a wide area disaster resilience initiatives. The basic idea was that utilizing IoT data generated from a wider area provides more reliable and better insight. At the same time, such a wide area collaboration also benefits residents who commute across municipality boundaries on a regular basis. This is just one example that this report provides. The OECD report on smart city data governance provide various types of good practices. So from Japan, the report includes example of Aizu Wakamatsu City and Toyama City as local government initiatives in addition to the Takamatsu City, and the example of NEC and JR as corporate initiatives. So Aizu Wakamatsu City will introduce its initiative in the session 3 of this webinar. I hope this report and this webinar will contribute to the initiatives by all stakeholders to improve the data governance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shigeko, for your remarks and for highlighting some of the good experiences of Japan. And certainly, we use a lot of information from Japan. We interview different cities as part of this report, and the experiences are in there. It's rather interesting, and I think they could be of inspiration to many other cities in Japan and overseas. Now, so it is time to move to our first panel discussion on challenges for data governance from the perspective of national governments. As mentioned during the presentation I gave, despite the wide range of local and national initiatives to enhance smart city data governance, urban data still raises a set of management, regulatory, access, security challenges for both national and city governments. So therefore, it is now time to hear how countries are facing these specific cases. And to start our first panel discussion, I would like to introduce Mr. Michiel van Tonghen, Senior Policy Advisor from the Directorate of General Mobility at the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management of the Netherlands. The Netherlands introduced this year this initiative called the Dutch Metropolitan Innovations as a public-private partnership to facilitate the sharing and the use of data to create trust and open standards to accelerate the rollout of data-driven solutions for major challenges in cities. This is one of the initiatives that we explore for this report, but you can see it over there. But we are delighted to have Michiel van Tonghen, who will give us an overview of this initiative that has been rather interesting to listen to it when we have our first discussion. So Michiel, could you please give us a little bit more about this Dutch Metropolitan Initiative, Innovations Initiative? Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, Oscar, and thank you to all the participants for being able to share with you some of the exciting developments here in the Netherlands. I'll talk about we call it the DMI ecosystem, where we leverage data for future mobility and urban planning. It's really all about data sharing. And of course, when you want to share data, you also have to have some very solid governance principles in place. Could I have the next slide, please? First of all, I'd like to spend a few seconds why we actually developed this. So I work at the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management, and we closely align with the Ministry for the Interior on things of spatial planning and urban development. And we both realized, as does our whole society, that we require a number of transitions over the coming decades because we're reaching a number of system boundaries, particularly within the cities. These photos are, they're about how crowded our streets are becoming, our trains are becoming. We have a shortage of affordable housing. We're dealing with the effects of climate change and have policies, but also actions to take for climate adaptation. We have to move to a circular economy. There are really a number of challenges that particularly the cities are facing, and at the national level, it requires a coordinated response. Could you please go to the next slide, please? So at the same time, we also have our normal economic challenge of keeping the economy buzzing. So therefore, the National Growth Fund was initiated, and it's a big fund that focuses on sustainable economic development for the Netherlands on the long term. The DMI ecosystem is basically started as an investment proposal to the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Ministry of Finance, where we set out to solve some of these urban challenges by using digital technologies. And like I said, data sharing is at the core of it. So what is the DMI ecosystem in its essence? It contains 4 strategic pillars where we want to maximize the utilization of information technology, because we know we have to crunch huge numbers of various data. The second strategic pillar is cross-domain policy coordination. So this means between organizational silos within a city, between organizational silos within governments of different ministries, but also different entities within ministries, and within the different layers of government from national to provincial down to the city level. That's a lot of policy coordination, but that's one of the main barriers, one of the main challenges that we're facing. And that's ultimately one of the reasons why the data is not flowing as we want it to be. The third strategic pillar is about structuring and organizing content, because we are dealing with a city. A city is a beautiful mess where everything comes together, but to address it in an organizational way, we do need to structure it somewhat. At the moment, we've divided up 7 themes that you see in the colored balls at the bottom of the slide. Those are content themes. They may move a little bit over the next few years. The DMI ecosystem will probably have a shelf life of about 10 to 15 years. That's what we expect. The first 5 years are fully funded. After that, it will need to become an ecosystem that works based on itself by internal cost-benefit leveling. And the fourth one is that knowledge, monitoring, evaluation, and learning is key to developing the ecosystem. Can I have the next slide, please? So how do we do it then? Basically, what we're doing is we have an integrated approach where we structure our investments and activities into 3 layers. At the bottom layer is the digital infrastructure. That's all about data sharing, technology and services. And I'd like to highlight from that perspective the federated data sharing technology that is being developed. All we're doing here in all 3 layers actually is utilizing existing technology at a technology readiness level, usually between 5 and 8. So they're already proven at small scale, but they need to scale up. So we're using federated data sharing technology in combination with a legal engine. The legal engine is also an innovation. The legal engine actually builds the trust to share data based on individual data contracts, which allows parties to use their data, but only under certain conditions. This gets rid of a lot of privacy and security conditions. It also builds trust because we're not physically moving data back and forth. We are actually, because of the federated nature, we are getting access to data at the source. And it also allows people to use federated learning technologies, which means that you can take the algorithms that we want to run on big swaths of data, can take the algorithm to the data instead of getting all the data together in one central silo, because that scares particularly companies, but also local governments when they think the data is sensitive. So the data is not being moved around. Instead, we're moving the algorithms around. The second part is the knowledge layer. It's all about, it's all about building the competencies, particularly at the local government level, to actually use data in a data-driven fashion to come to a problem solution. And in the third layer, the impact layer, that's where we develop the solutions for particular problems in the city. For example, digital access management when you have a zero emission zone, or a last mile solution for city logistics, or an application that monitors the air quality in a city and directs policy actions, maybe in combination with access management, maybe in combination with informational warnings. We have currently about 13 applications that are being built in that impact layer, and we expect it to grow probably at least triple over the next 3 to 5 years. Could you move to the next slide, please? Okay, so I explained it into those 3 main layers, and here is a more detailed picture of what's happening actually. So I said we structure our investments and activities. So at the bottom of this are all different data buckets. Sensor data, basic registrations, mobility data from the national access point, user data, data from the built environment, etc., etc. It can be as many as we want. We can add more. And the data is being funneled into Urban Data Platform, into digital twin applications, into an integrated services pack in the city support center. And at the end of the day, at the city level, we're building these digital solutions that have to run into each city. So it's a national approach that leverages the technologies that are being built in cities and making sure they're scalable and reusable. That was the main market failure we were trying to address with this proposal. We put these flags in here. Don't be too specific about where we put the flags, but there are many applications. You'll see the relationship with those content themes where we built specific applications. So in those content themes, we also define what are the really useful long-term solutions that cities need to address their issues. I'd like to go to the next slide, please. I think that already finishes it. This is the last slide. What we end up with is a platform approach where we have maximum market, healthy market conditions for various SMEs and medium-sized parties, but also larger ones if they want to join. We have a clear set of governance rules that every participant has to sign. It's basically a one-sided contract where that sets out the rules of engagement and the rules of behavior, and is legally binding. So that allows us to build some form of trust. And in addition to that, we have the digital engine with that monitors data quality, transparency, a supervisory body, clearinghouse. It's all about the data transaction. So that's all automated. So that provides extra trust. And all the applications that you see visualized around it for building new development, for adding mobility hubs, for making sure shared mobility companies can actually have a better runway to develop services in multiple cities, because multiple cities usually have different conditions where these service providers can actually operate. We tend to levelize that and really address that market failure where this new technology that we think is ready, we've identified, but it has not been scaled up so far. We think we now have the approach where we can really capture the impact that these individual solutions can make in an integrated approach. And the good news is, the really exciting news is, 2 weeks ago, we finally got the okay from the upper house, which means we have just sent out about 14 out of the 16 consortium agreements. So these are all basically assignments to companies and consortia, academic institutes, the Institute for Applied Sciences, etc., but many companies to start building the technologies and the applications. So we are running, and so we are very excited to share that as our final contribution here in this session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. Very rather interesting initiative. Let's see, I will have some questions for you. Perhaps I will give you a question and we'll get back to it after our third panelist. The question for you is, what would a country or a city who want to do something similar to the DMI need to do? What would be the main lesson, your main advice for them to keep in mind if they want to do an initiative similar to the Dutch Metropolitan Innovations? This is one, and just for clarification later on, if you can do so at the same time, how long did it take you to set this initiative, to design it? How long it was? And therefore, and as well, this comes from the national government, but what about cities? How they are adopting this initiative to their particular smart city projects, if we can say that. I'll leave you those questions for the Q&A, so you can think about that. Well, we go then to our second speaker. Now I'm pleased to introduce Ms. Patricia Sadowska, hope I pronounced it correctly, as a senior specialist in urban policy unit at the Ministry of Development Funds and Regional Policy in Poland. Poland is a country that has worked for a long time on national urban policies, and part of the strategy includes the development of smart cities. So, Patricia, we have mentioned the development of smart cities invariably means managing and governing data. So what has been the experience of Poland in this regard, managing on the smart cities and the governance of data? So could you give us a little bit tell us a little bit about the experience of Poland, please? You have the floor.
Of course, thank you, Oscar. Hello, everyone. I'm very pleased to meet you all, and I thank for this opportunity to share our Polish experience and challenges in this topic of smart city data governance. As Oscar said, I am the representative of Ministry of Development Funds and Regional Policy, and in our urban policy unit, we are working with cities to address their challenges in many fields, and digitalization, digital transformation, and data governance are included in this set of fields we are trying to tackle here. So. As we delve into this subject of data governance, I'd like to focus on our Polish experience and specific challenges faced in the context of programming urban policy. In 2022, Polish Council of Ministers adopted the National Urban Policy with perspective to 2030, which was a milestone document that took a role of coordinating all the sectoral policies referring to cities and their functional areas. And thank you for the next slide. I would like to give you some, no, can we go back to the previous one? Yeah, thank you. I would like to give you a little bit of context to what this national urban policy in Poland is. So it draws much inspiration from international context, of course, especially European Union documents that serve, and national urban policy here serves as a cornerstone of public policy on national level. Despite the fact that the European Union does not have direct rights in the scope of urban policy, a series of union initiatives have an undeniable impact on cities, and we have discovered here in Poland that it was crucial to connect these experiences. So as you can see on this slide, in this national level segment, the left part of the segment is in the domain of Ministry of Digital Affairs. And the right side piece, urban context, I will be focused on it today. Although I'm not an ICT specialist, I'm not a specialist from Ministry of Digital Affairs, we have consulted them on this presentation and included their experience, especially in the strategic projects. I could briefly introduce you at the later date during this presentation. Can I have a next slide, please? Yes, thank you. So the primary goal of national urban policy is to create such conditions for cities and functional areas that they can develop in a sustainable way, offering residents a high quality of life. So it was our response to challenges, to all the challenges the cities are facing, and it was a response on the national level. And we knew that these challenges are so complex, they need. Oh, sorry, we have a dog in my room, that they need a coordination on national level. So national urban policy outlines 6 main goals, six main objectives. As you can see, one of them is a development of smart city, and achieving these objectives hinges on addressing the 11 challenges we've described in national urban policy. And to meet these challenges, improvements are needed in legislation, in organization, and financial aspects. So we did propose these improvements, these solutions to every challenge. And can I have a next slide, please? Thank you. So let's focus on the last challenge, which is most appropriate here today. So the 11th challenge, last but not least, very important, accelerating the pace of digital transformation of cities. That was one of the challenges we've identified in our national urban policy. As we explored, we can explore one of our key recommendations, which was organization, processing, and opening public data. So this challenge underscores the growing importance of harnessing the power of data and technology to create a smarter, more efficient, and sustainable urban environment. At the national levels, this task primarily fall under the purview of Ministry of Digital Affairs, which is responsible for establishing standards for data openness and accessibility. And they are working on the standards right now. I know that they are publishing a lot of textbooks, guidelines for cities and local municipalities to take into account while opening the data. It is crucial to acknowledge in our Polish environment that the data is processed and opened up for the wider access and utilization at the local level. So we try to coordinate that and to facilitate that with these guidelines. And as you can see, a bit more, since I have 2 minutes more, about some of the challenges we are facing in Poland related to this development of cities in this digital transformation. So firstly is the quality of collected and shared data. So we are struggling a bit with ensuring that this data collected and shared is accurate, reliable, and relevant. This requires a commitment to data integrity and quality control. And right now, as I told you before, Ministry of Digital Affairs is working on the standards of data openness. This cross-sectoral cooperation, which was talked about previously, it is crucial that we in Smart Cities Initiative, we have to involve collaboration between multiple sectors, not only on this government agencies to private companies and society level, but also coordination must be included in this policy-making level. So right now in Poland, it's quite a hot topic, this twin transition. So the idea that green transition in combating climate change could go hand in hand with digital transition. And transparency of the process, which is really important to ensure the trust of society. And certainly in Poland, one of the recommendations to enhance this transparency of the process is the appointment of someone called local data open officer or ombudsman within municipal offices. This role is crucial, and it is dedicated to advancing data publication processes and fostering awareness within the municipal office and beyond. And just and safe transition, digital transition. I think we are going to talk more about safety of this data-driven transition. So I will not dwell more on that. I have some examples of strategic projects that my ministry and Ministry of Digital Affairs conducted in this area. So maybe I will leave it for Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patricia, for the presentation, for highlighting the initiatives in Poland on building smart cities on the framework of the National Urban Policy. Perhaps for the Q&A session, while we go to the third speaker, for you to consider is, my concern is, this is all what you explain at national level, but how would you define, or how you, what are the challenges that Polish cities themselves are facing for smart cities and data management? Are they prepared for that? Do they have the staff, the funding? How is the national government helping them to be prepared for that? Because you mentioned even the standards are being prepared right now, and they need to ensure quality data, integrity, etc. So how to prepare, how to improve the capacity of the cities? What are the specific efforts that the national government is doing to help cities? That for the Q&A. Thank you. So now we go to the third speaker of this session. I would like to welcome Mr. Non Arkarapraserkul. Hope I pronounce it correctly. He's a senior expert on digital economy promotion agency in Thailand. Thank you very much for joining us to this webinar. Could you please tell us a little bit more about the experience of Thailand in the creation of a data-driven smart cities? Please, the floor is yours.
Certainly. Thank you so much, Oscar, and sawadee krap, everybody. Waiting from Singapore, actually. I'm not in Thailand at the moment, but thanks to the digital economy and methods that we are using to engage with one another, it doesn't really matter anymore where we are in the world. We can always take part in an event like this. Anyway, so I have a short story to tell. For us in Thailand, we have been doing it quite differently from other places, in the sense that our smart city initiative comes from below. So let me explain. Next slide. The things that I've been looking at for the past few years with what are the main components? What are the main ingredients that make smart cities feasible? And I was really naive when I came into this 5 years ago as a senior expert, as Oscar mentioned. And I thought the two components or ingredients that are very, very important are money, funding, right? And intention. So if you have good intention and money, you probably get a smart cities. But turns out I was really wrong. So I studied many cities that wanted to be smart around the world. I realized that they have lots of money, and many of them actually have lots and lots of money, and they do have lots of good intention. In fact, intention is very important, because I don't think any cities in the world want their city to be less smart. So intentions are there, and some cities have funding. but turns out the results are not what they expected. And there are some of the reasons. For instance, you can see in these collages of failures, well, not failures. I mean, some of them are still in progress, or either not understanding the pain points of the citizens and focus too much on technology. Some of them are focusing too much on the supply side economy without understanding the demands. So they scratch where it's not easy, and towards the end they are building a nest that the birds doesn't want it to live in. Or there are places whereby technologies are there, but the people don't feel at home because technology alone isn't going to make a city a place to live in. You need more cultural amenities. You need a heritage. You need a sense of belonging that can build over generations. So just throw a city into a blank space doesn't make it a place that people want to live in. So these are things that I found out over the past few years of myself being an expert in smart city. And it all comes down to one reason, which is next slide. I call this well-intended parent problems. So in the sense that cities really wanted to focus on how to make citizens happier, but what they are actually seeing from the policy level are usually very different from what the citizens from below are experiencing. Like in this picture, the parents are really well intended. They want their kids to experience the different types of animals when he was a toddler. But then what he was experiencing was actually a different perspective, and that's not the fault of the parents. The parents is well intended, and he has the funding to buy the toys. They just weren't looking at the toy from the same perspective as a baby. So we realized is that all the problems we had in cities that trying to be smart and fail has to do with the fact that the perspectives are different, and there has to be a way to bridge the perspective so that we don't become the well-intended parents who are not giving what's best for the babies. Next one. So we put together a set of principles that we believe to be the key essence to smart city promotion. And the first thing is about citizen centricity. So smart city is about citizen centricity. Next picture. So what I mean by this is that smart city is not about technology. It's not about how many sensors do you have in the city. It's not about how grandiose your policy looks on paper. It's not about how much you're going to be spending. It's not about your grand intention. It's about how can you solve the pain points of the citizens. And technology usually works in the background. So in this picture, I like it very much. You can see that the computers and robots, they don't have to be in the city walking on the streets or drones flying in the skies. The technology can just be in the corner, working in the background, making traffic more flow, making accidents things of the past, making the environment, air quality better than before. That is the role of the technology. It's just all about people, and technology is a tool. Next slide. The second principle for us is about collaborations and partnerships. We came up with a new term called people-public-private partnership. We all heard of PPP, public-private partnership. But for us, next slide, we believe that if you start with public-private partnerships without the needs of the people, then you're not going to get anywhere because you don't have the demand to support your partnership. So we add one more P at the beginning, which is people, because we believe that which is the essence of your solution. So one example that I wanted to give is about how to eliminate waste from a city. So we realize is that a lot of cities have waste management problems, and it's usually because of the one-time plastic use, i.e. water bottles. We all need to drink, and every time we drink, we create a piece of trash, and that's a big thing. Next one. So in the city of Nakhon Si Thammarat in southern Thailand, which I will talk a lot about in this short presentation, they are trying to solve this problem. And the way they do it is very unconventional. As opposed to installing a lot of water fountains for people to drink free water, they actually partner up with local businesses and make all the local businesses, restaurants, a free water fountain for the city. So because these places, they already have water fountain, which is the place to get water for the customers. So we might as well open those up to everybody in the city to get free water. And once they do that, we incentivize them to do more by giving them the point-based system. So at the end of the year or the fiscal year, they can use their points towards various of things like tax deductions and so on. And the people too, we also put them in the leaders board. So whoever drink more water from the free taps that we are giving around the city with the app that we created for the map finding or wayfinding, then they also get privileges from the city as a local hero for cutting down carbon footprint. So this gamified processes start with the people. We bring a public, we have a private, and once we have the data mapped out, we'll better understand where the demand for water are, where we should be installing if we needed to, more water fountain, more water filter, utilities, and so on. Because of data, we can drive decisions. With better decisions, we can drive better transformations. Next one. Oh, and then we actually won a hackathon because of that project in Taiwan. Just a couple of weeks ago, we met with the President Tsai Ing-wen, who gave us the award at her presidential palace. The third principle and the last principle is about data-drivenness. We believe that smart city is driven only by data. It's not going to be driven by belief. It's not going to be driven by your sense of heuristics. It's not going to be driven by what you happen to be familiar with. It can only be driven by data. Next one. In fact, one of my professors, when I studied abroad many years ago, Steven Pinker, I was in the elevator with him one day and he told me, well, maybe he's trying to find something to talk to me about. He said that, hey, Non, if we can change one thing about the world and the world will be a better place right away, what do you think that would be? I mean, he might just want to, ask questions. Anyway, I didn't have the answer. I told him, well, maybe kindness. If people are kinder, then the world will be a better place. Or maybe OECD, and if you have a better programs for development, then maybe we can be better. Anyway, his answer was like, no. Kindness is subjective. Kindness for one person might be cruel to another person. So let's talk about the most objective things in the world, and that which is data. Because if human beings shifted towards believing in more data, we will be a better place right away. The world will be a better place right away because we will see from data that peace is better than war, that public transportation is better than private vehicles, that public-private partnership is definitely going to be better than just a public doing it alone. With data, we can make better decisions because data is objectively revealing what it is that we need to do as human species in order to make the world a better place. And that was something that was so profound. And I still remember that until today. Next one. So with the Steven Pinker's ideas that data to drive, we also created a platform that collect data. So Nakhon Si Thammarat flooded every year until this year that it didn't flood. Why? Next one. Because we realized is that if we actually unclog all the waterways in the cities, we can actually solve the problem of flooding once and for all. Next one, the problem of flooding has to do with the fact that it takes forever to report problems. So we converted the physical reporting structures on papers to an actual applications on phone, where people can send in their problems and that they see in the city, and the data that the city have in the background. Next one is being mapped out in a heat map fashion that enable the city to analyze where are the places where they have to go solve problems on behalf of the citizens, which are the prioritizable places, how to use their limited resources in order to fix problems as impactful and effective as possible. So you can see that the data drive decisions, and the better decisions, we can use less resources, solve problems with more efficiency, and of course, solving problems that we thought was so natural, like flooding once and for all. Next one. So I'm actually happy to report that because of this data-drivenness, we are able to solve so many problems. Next one. Yeah, so I mean pictures probably more important than anything else here, right? So they never flood anymore. With just one small application that enable people to become monitoring systems, and with the data we aggregated in the background, we can actually solve problems faster. Next one. So I just wanted to summarize, this is my last slide here, that for us in Thailand, people first is not just a motto. In fact, we think very deeply about wouldn't it be nice if we can rethink the way in which we create cities, from greenfield, building a lot of structure, physical spaces that nobody uses, to a new approach whereby we don't have to build cities from a physical standpoint, but a platform where we can actually make existing cities much more livable and much more economically viable for the citizens. For instance, the things that I just showed you. And if we do it that way, then we actually get a better performances right away without having to spend lots of resources. And that's not all, because it could also inspire a lot of cities around the world to join forces with us, and data at the core, technology in the background, but people in the foreground, because for them, they are the first priority for us when we develop smart cities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nat, for the presentation. The sound was a little bit hard to follow, but I think we got most of the presentation. Perhaps I would like to challenge you, because you said something like the smart city should be data-driven, and there was an initiative from London that said cities should not be data-driven, but data-enabled. Data should not lead what the city should do, but should enable what the cities are capable of doing. What do you think about that? And the other question that I would have for you is how's, for example, this initiative that you mentioned with the applications, how they were funded? Was it also private, part of the partnership, funds from different sources, public, private, people? So that would be a question for you to go back. And while you think about that, I would like to say, okay, we have listened to our first three panelists, and if you have any question for them, please do not hesitate to put them in the Q&A, and they would also reply in written if they are willing to. But just to conclude the panel, I would like to go back to Michael to see if you have an answer for the questions that I made at the beginning. And then I go to Patricia and finally to Non. Michael, what do you think?
All right, thanks, Oscar. I've had some time to think about it. And your first question, if I understood it correctly, was okay. So what can a city do? What can it learn from the approach that we are spearheading in the Netherlands? And I think there are several things that a city can do to follow a similar structure, but perhaps end up with a different proposition that we specifically have come up with for the Netherlands, because we do have a local context, a local culture, etc. And that is, firstly, to develop a vision and subsequent goals of what do you want to actually achieve with your smart city proposition. So really putting the challenge ahead. One of the things we found in the last few years, it was, in a way, it was a no-brainer. At the same time, it was an eye-opener, is that we're really pushing technology, and technology is a means, but not an end. So we need to go back to what's the actual problem analysis and how can we address the problem. You know, and we seem to fall into the trap sometimes even to say, okay, we have a problem, therefore data must be part of the solution. That's not even the case at all times. So question really, what is the nature of the problem you're trying to solve? Make sure there is a vision, because it does require a long runway to deliver the result. So you need a vision, where do you want to head to with the subsequent goals. Then you need an engagement strategy to get all the stakeholders on board with this vision. This means an engagement strategy that's directed at, well, I would say at least a triple helix, but, you know, fair enough. Smart cities are indeed, at the end of the day, they are about its citizens, as the previous speaker was rightfully saying. So you could say it could also be a quadruple helix approach, but you do need an engagement strategy. Otherwise, it will take too long. You'll need to build in your own organization digital leadership and skills to actually have the capabilities ready or have a plan to develop them. You need policies and business cases for the developments that you actually want to realize. And lastly, and I think this is probably the key, and this is also a reason why we think in the Netherlands we have a good chance of succeeding, is you need to develop very strong relationships with your suppliers of your technology, to see what is possible, what are their barriers to entry, what are they struggling with, to understand how can you, from a policy perspective, as a government, how can you achieve your policy goals, and how does the business world, how can they achieve their business objective? And it's really about mutual value creation. So that's what I would say is the lesson. The other more basic lesson is have a strong team with those digital skills already. You can condense these 5 elements that I just put, you can condense them into a team and start working on the proposition. That's really the lesson. How long was the second question? How long does this take? I mean, everybody's different, but I would say it takes probably about 2 years to really come up with a solid plan. it could be done maybe a little bit quicker if you outsource some of the thinking and writing and looking for the investments, etc. If you outsource it to experienced parties, but at the end of the day, then there's a learning curve how that all comes together. So I do think it's to the starting point, it will take about 2 years, and then I think it's fair to say it will be a 5-year implementation track. Plus or minus 1 or 2 years, I can't really say. The third question was how that's all well and good. This is a national government approach, but how does this work for a city? If a city wants to do this, well, maybe a fair question to ask before that is, what is actually a city? You know, are we comparing the city of Utrecht, which, you know, is one of our major cities, but has like 350, 400,000 inhabitants, and you know, its footprint is the size of a suburb in a major metropolitan city around the globe. We like to say the Netherlands is a big metropolitan city that's quite empty. So the country in itself is more like a city. We see parallels with Seoul and with Singapore, both which we visited in the last year and have had discussions about the concept. But really, we think the approach is actually scale independent. You could build the 3 layers that I showed you. You could build it on a city level. You could build it on a regional level. We actually see this in the Netherlands. Certain regions have started more or less to create their own little ecosystem. It's about getting them together, and the principles are scalable. So scalability as a theme throughout the proposition is also a very important lesson. Keep the scalability in mind. If it doesn't scale, it's not going to provide the runway for long-term effects. You're going to run into a policy issue. You're going to run into a business sustainability issue.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael, for highlighting the issue of scalability. I think this is one of the key challenges that, in fact, many smart cities have. How to pass from, for example, from the pilot project to cover, to make it larger, etc. This is important. Thank you very much for that answer. And there's another one question. There's a question in the chat, in the Q&A, sorry. If that goes for, I think it's for all the speakers. The question is, if you have examples of smartphone applications for data communications by society to manage and control the state of buildings and city infrastructures. So if anyone has an example to share with this person, please, you can reply directly in the chat in written. That's okay. Now I will move to Patricia. Patricia, what do you?
Yes. Thank you. So as I recall correctly, I hope you asked me about the challenges of Polish cities, not from national, but from this local level. And what I like to say is that I think you've probably outlined them quite perfectly in your report. So I would agree that financing and lack of skill and lack of capability in Polish cities is one of the most challenging problems, I guess. And to answer your second question is to how we address these challenges on the national level. I would say that one of the key strategic projects from implementation of our national urban policy, Cities Partnership Initiative, is about that. So it's about it aims to link the cities and to build a network for cities to work together on some issues. For example, in the thematic fields, for example, digitalization. And cities then have opportunity to work together on identified challenge. And then after, it's a 2-year project. After this project, they can come up with recommendation, you know, bottom up. So with some recommendation for us for the national level. So they gain throughout all the project, they work with experts from ministries, from World Bank, which is our strategic partner, and they come up with hopefully with some implementation strategies on the local level, and some recommendation for us.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Patricia, for highlighting also this bottom-up approach. I think that's another key aspect of this data governance issue. And now, finally, Non, if you have any idea, are we data-driven or data-enabled? What do you think?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think the two terms are interchangeable. There are pretty much a problem with semantics. Some people like driven because it sounds like you are innovating with data at the core. Some people, like many colleagues of mine, and probably you as well, Oscar, you like the term enabling because it's actually empower the enabler with the kind of tools that really make their decisions become more powerful. For me, I think these are interchangeable. I am a Hemingway type of person, so I like the more driven because it's shorter. It's 2 syllables, enable is 3 syllables, so I like driven better. But I think that these two are completely interchangeable. And the other thing that you asked me about the funding, for us in Thailand, the ministry also have funding for infrastructure projects to support smart cities, but we also can tap into the funding that are available within the municipalities as well, because many municipalities, they are fed up with the old traditional projects like building roads and buildings. In fact, they find building those are not useful anymore, because once you have roads, but then congestion is still the problem because you don't have mobility as a service. You have bridges that connects from place to place, but you still have problem with accidents because you can't manage your traffic efficiently. And the whole ideas of building and hoping that more building will lead to more progress, it's no longer the case, because now what we want is the kind of optimization and efficiency that leads to a better usage of the existing infrastructure. And that's actually leads back to my the previous questions you asked me, right? So if you really enable existing infrastructure with data, it will become much more useful. But for new projects, we have to use data to drive decisions, what to do, what to build, what to manage, and what to organize, because that way we can do less but gain more. We can think big, dream big, and be able to achieve them as well.
Right. Thank you very much, Nan, for your thoughts about this issue that was actually discussed with the City of London, because they prefer the term data enable, because he said data should enable us to achieve certain goals, not to be driven by what is by the data itself. But thank you very much for your thoughts. And with this, I think we can conclude the first panel of discussion. I think there was a question in the chat for Michael specifically. Michael, if you perhaps would like to respond to this person in the chat, in the Q&A, sorry. There is a question for you. And now we move to the issue of interoperability. And for that, I would like to welcome our first speaker to talk about this issue of interoperability that enables data sharing among different public-private stakeholders to foster innovation and better policy making. It is also one of the main challenges in building a smart city using digital technologies. And to start the discussion, I would like to welcome Mrs. Gudrun Schwarz from the Division of Smart Cities and the Ministry of Housing, Urban Development and Building in Germany. Gudrun, we know that Germany has a long history and experience in the promotion of smart cities and data management. But what about how is Germany promoting or dealing with the issue of interoperability while also ensuring the privacy, security of data when sharing of that? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Oscar, and thank you for the opportunity to bring in the German example. We appreciate the acknowledgement here of how interoperability can contribute to smart city governance, data governance, and yet Germany is, when it comes to standardization and interoperability, in many respects lagging behind. And this is mainly due to its federal system. The country is not centralized, so decision-making on the local level is not in a top-down process, but rather works bottom-up, which on the whole, with 11,000 municipalities in Germany, leads to a considerable number of different approaches. In Germany, we have we run from the government a federal 820 million smart city model funding program. And this program was developed in 2019, and 73 model projects have emerged from it. and they're all committed to the idea of digital transformation. The central challenge in Germany is that outside of the funding program, only larger municipalities can address the topic of interoperability in the sufficient depth. However, all those involved in this city program agree that data use must be as simple as data provision. Sharing data between entities within a city and across cities, it requires standardized data formats and data exchange formats like protocols. And notwithstanding with the many different data management systems used, the lack of clarity in standards on data interoperability prevents a free exchange of information, and thus it makes it difficult for cities to make optimal use of data. With regard to deploy AI, big data and modeling, it is essential to have high quality data sets. And we have found out that interoperability is hard to achieve. So how can we as a national government help the cities to improve, and how can we strengthen them to prevent vendor lock-in, or in terms of data usage, strengthen them to use data from different sources? It is not only about exchanging data on a national scale, as if the city of like Dresden is using the data from the city of Cologne. It is more about using data from various sources for various purposes, and how to make local decision makers feel comfortable with exchange of data. Notably, an increasing number of software is or will be publicly available, such as the one from our national funding program, which follows the principle public money, public code. Upscaling and replication of our digital solutions and smart city use cases is something we can continue to improve on. It's a constant issue for us. One of the lessons we have learned in our model funding program is that improving interoperability and data safety in smart city governments can only be approached in a combination of measures. And firstly, and mainly, it's all about standardization. It is about developing or adopting universal data standards and formats to ensure data from various sources so that platforms and technologies can interact together seamlessly. And standardized protocols promote interoperability across different systems and platforms within a smart city. So in Germany, we do not have smart city standardization efforts on the governmental side. Instead, we have the DIN Institute, the German Standard Institute, that brings forward issues from research and development into the international standardization discussion. And it is regarded for us as a vehicle to bring separate issues into the international community. At the moment, DIN is discussing two major standardization issues on smart cities, namely one DIN spec on digital twins for cities and municipalities, and another DIN spec on data models and protocols for open urban platforms. And both standards will be developed together with some of our model funding project municipalities. Just as an example about DIN on data models, we have found out that data generation and processing is only the foundation. Building on this, data exchange between organizational units and technical solutions within a city, or even data exchange between cities, regardless of all technological progress, is for us the real challenge. And while some cities rely on open source platforms, others rely on proprietary platforms, and at the same time work on priority initiatives such as FIWARE initiative, or the Living in EU, or recently the Gaia X and their integration. All this continues at the same time at full speed, so we really have to keep up with it. When it comes to data safety in smart cities, another key finding is that robust cybersecurity measures, when it comes to the local level, are extremely hard to achieve. to implement cybersecurity protocols like end-to-end encryption or firewalls and regular security audits, or to safeguard data against unauthorized access or leaks or cyber attacks, it is so important to educate city staff on cybersecurity best practices to prevent inadvertent breaches. And where the federal government has a cybersecurity agency in Germany, no such institution exists on the local level. So what we do in the funding program is capacity building, and it's one of the main pillars in our program. Another factor to strengthen interoperability is to set up data sharing policies which do not over-benefit one side within a data sharing cooperation. We have found out that within our funding program. We've got the EU Data Act, and we have a German equivalent, the National Data Strategy. And what is very important also on the smart city side, and we still have to work on that one, is to establish clear data sharing and usage policies, and to ensure that all stakeholders, including government entities, also private businesses, citizens, that they all understand their roles and responsibilities and rights concerning the usage of data. And as a last point, I want to bring in compliance and regulation. This is especially for us as a national, from the national side, an important issue. It's all about implementing regulatory frameworks that stipulate adherence to data protection and that stipulate data exchange. And this should also include mechanisms for regular oversight and audit to ensure ongoing compliance and to identify potential areas for possible improvement. So this is it so far from the German side. To wrap it up, we're looking for ways to combine technological, regulatory and policy measures along with a continuous capacity building and an overall oversight. And this is why we have our funding programs. We are experimenting a lot with that, and it's still a lot of work to be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gudrun. Thank you for those very interesting points. I think you touched on several points, or most of the points that we covered in the report: standardization, cybersecurity, the lack of capacity, funding, etc. All those are really important elements in data governance. Perhaps if I could ask you a little bit more, it's about, I don't know if you can tell us a little bit more about how is this standardization taking place in Germany. You said that there's an institute that is developing those standards. How whether cities can participate in the definition of these standards? How is this done? This could be one of the things that we would like to explore. And cybersecurity, you mentioned that it's hard at the local level to achieve cybersecurity, and education is key. Therefore, you have capacity building programs. But is there any other thing apart from the education that the cities or the national government are promoting to prevent cybersecurity attacks or threats? I would like to give it like that for the end of the presentations. So thank you very much. In the meantime, I would like to ask to welcome Mr. Tomoaki Sasaki, General Associate Director of the Smart City Promotion Office, Office Planning and Coordination Division from the city of Aizu Wakamatsu in Japan, who will give us a little bit more about the experience of the city on interoperability and data safety. Now we have listened to the experience of the national government in Japan, but now we could move to the local government to hear what cities specifically are facing. So, Mr. Sasaki-san, the floor is yours.
はい、ありがとうございます。私は福島県会津若松市の
Thank you very much. My name is Sasaki from Aizu Wakamatsu City of Fukushima Prefecture. And I'm very happy that you're launching the report, and I'm very honored to be given the opportunity to make this presentation. There are so many things that I would like to talk about, but I would like to focus my presentation on interoperability and data safety. Next, please.
福島県会津若松
So Aizu Wakamatsu City in Fukushima Prefecture, I'm sure that many of you do not know where it is. On the left-hand side, we have a map of Japan, and colored in red is the Fukushima Prefecture, located in the east northern part of Japan. And within Fukushima Prefecture, we have the red, which is Aizu Wakamatsu City, and there's a big lake. And on the western side of the big lake, there is the Aizu Wakamatsu City. We have a lot of nature, history, and culture. I hope that you will consider visiting our city sometime in the future. So the biggest challenge that we are facing as of today is as shown in the graph on the right-hand side on the top, population decline. In 1995, we had 137,065 people. It was the peak of our population, and every year population is declining by more than 1,000 per year. And only last month, as of September 1st, 2023, we had 112,988, and you can see how the population is declining every year. So since the population is declining, so which means that the region is losing its vitality. It's something that is being experienced by many regional cities in Japan, not only in Aizu Wakamatsu City. It's a common problem. So it's not, it's just a small city, but we are now working on the Smart City initiative so that we can work as a model to realize convenience in the city, and also to realize a sustainable economy, sustainable society within a local city. And that is the reason why we're implementing this initiative. And here explains the Smart City Aizu Wakamatsu. It gives you the overview of what we do at Aizu Wakamatsu to become a smart city. So many things are written here on this slide. However, colored in orange, we have different fields that we cover: mobility, commerce, many different areas we are covering. We are not specifically covering an area to come up with new services, but we try to cover all fields that are related to people's daily lives. And and our purpose is to provide personalized services to individuals. And to realize that, as we have discussed, we are utilizing data. We have what we call the City OS, colored in blue, the blue box. To provide services in Aizu Wakamatsu City, we have the City OS. So Tatsushima-san from MLIT explained it, but we created a data information platform developed by the city, and colored in yellow are the data sources. We have the open data owned by the city, personal data held by the city government, also data provided or personal data provided by the citizens. We also have a set of data held by the private companies, and those data are provided to the City OS, and we are utilizing the data to provide personalized services to the individuals. In terms of data, by utilizing City OS, we are doing distributed management. So each stakeholder is responsible for securing the data or securing the safety of the data. And we have the principle of opt-in, and I'm sure you know about that. What kind of data will be used and what kind of purposes can be decided by the data provider. We get an agreement from the individuals before we collect the data, which is written in the red box. So the citizens need to agree to provide the data. And because of that, we are able to improve the reliability and the credibility of the data protection. And this is something that is mentioned in the report as well. This is related to inter-regional cooperation in Japan. Japanese government came up with a referential architecture. Open and standardized architecture is in place, and by having that, we are able to collaborate with other cities. It's not Aizu Wakamatsu City doing its own things. It's possible for us to collaborate with other cities and towns, and we don't have to depend on one single vendor. Many vendors and many service providers will be able to work together with the city. And as shown in the slide, there are 3 cities: Aizu Wakamatsu City, B Town, C Village. 3 local governments are shown, and in the middle it says City OS. And each region uses the City OS, and the individual services will be provided by each local government. And all these circles, squares, and crosses, and stars, all of these individual services are provided by each local government. So not only services developed by your own city, but it is very easy to implement the services developed by others. We'll be able to reduce the cost and we'll be able to roll out the services at a speed. So by more cities we collaborate with, or more regions we collaborate with, we'll be able to realize a strong and sustainable community. So with this, I would like to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimashita, Sasaki-san. That's a very interesting initiative. We certainly, as you said, we include this experience of Aizu Wakamatsu in the report. That's one of the best examples of smart cities and interoperability or data management in Japan. Perhaps I would like to ask you a couple of questions for the discussion part. If another city in the world, or those that are listening to us right now, would like to follow the example of Aizu Wakamatsu to implement a city or interoperability framework in which you mentioned 3 cities connecting, using the service, etc., what could they have to do to achieve that level of coordination or sharing of data? What could be your key lesson that was learned from the experience of Aizu Wakamatsu? This is one question. What would they have to do, and what are the things that they would need to avoid doing that you experience while setting this initiative? That's for the discussion. Thank you very much. And now, last but not least, I move to the last of the panelists. I would like to introduce and give the floor to Dr. Shi-Hun Chi, Senior Principal Research Scientist of the Digital Trust Center of Singapore. Dr. Chi, Singapore has been at the front of technological development and is even a reference in terms of smart cities initiatives. Could you please tell us a little bit more about how Singapore is promoting interoperability while ensuring the safety of data in the country? The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, my name is Chi-Hung Chi, and then from Singapore, and then at this moment I'm with the Digital Trust Center. Actually, this is the National Digital Trust Center, the only center in Singapore. Okay, without further delay, let's go into the topics. Okay, so what I'm given is about the data safety and interoperability for smart city. So I think let's break down these few words and then try to see what they mean. Okay, first of all, smart cities. Smart city, I think from the time the mankind is there, we have been looking for the smartness. Okay, then why it's so special for today? Okay, we suddenly, hear about all this kind of smart or things like that. Okay, so I think for this particular event or for a lot of this so-called smart city, they refer to is something that happened recently. What is recently? Is by the fact that more and more data are available. People are trying to make sense out of that. And then also more important, there's also another aspect that are equally important is about the collaboration. That means in the past, we just want ourselves to be smart. After that, we say that we can be smart only if we work with other people, or we share some of our secret with other people, and so on. So here, or the subsequent thing that I'm going to talk about is about this kind of data-enabled or data-driven smart city, whereby there are emphasis in the collaboration and coordination. Okay, then after that, so we understand about the so-called smart city. Then there are 2 words come into the picture. One is the so-called data safety. Next slide. So why do we talk about data safety? Is because the data is getting more and more sensitive. You want to get more and more data, okay? Not only you're talking about a huge volume of the data, you're talking about more and more sensitive data. Not only you want to know my name or even my ID number, you want to know my behavior, yesterday what I'm doing, and so on. Okay, so because of this, people start to worry. And then the word actually data safety can refer to one of the three things shown on the slide. One is about the data protection. This is the old stuff, really old. Okay, so I have the data. I make sure that the data is not corrupted, data is consistent, and so on. So is it important? Definitely. And then, but this is a long-term problem. Then second, data needs to be stored somewhere and so on. So we talk about data security. Okay, so you put the data somewhere, you try to protect your digital information against all this kind of threat, okay, malicious action and so on. So the data security, is it important? Yes, it's equally important, okay, but this is also a long-term issue. I remember 20 years ago, we have a security center on data security, okay? So today, do we still have data security problem? Yes, but this is not a new problem. So what is the new problem? The third one, data privacy. Why data privacy come into the picture? Actually, it's very simple. Just now we say smartness need collaboration. That means I want to create my intelligence, my smartness, not only from my data, but with other people's data together. Then I can be smarter. Now, asking other people for something, this is a headache. Okay, all people want intelligence. All people say we should collaborate, but when it comes to the practice, okay, let's collaborate. Can we share the data or even the AI model? Then they hesitate. They hesitate. Now, the new challenge is, for example, I mean, we work with many banks, financial institute, manufacturing. I mean, a lot of this kind of stuff. Okay, you know what they want to say? They say that, okay, I want to be intelligent. I want to work together with you, but I do not want to share data. And even I do not want to share the AI model. Okay, you say then this is unreasonable. Well, this is the reality. So how can we do that? How can we approve that? This is why all this kind of so-called data, the privacy preserving AI come into the picture. Okay, you want to do the analysis, yet you want to encrypt the data. For example, we have a project at this moment. They want to scan through all this audio data in the bank. Okay, make sure that this is compliant to the regulation of the banking industry, whereby on the phone you cannot ask people to do, some kind of financial investment. But this is privacy issue. You cannot listen, but you want to check. Okay, so this is an example. Okay, so data safety, I think protection important, security important. This is a long-term issue, but privacy, I think this is an emerging issue. Okay, we really do not have a lot of good answer to this kind of challenge. So I think if we want to do something, maybe look at this. Next slide. So interoperability. Why do we need interoperability if we do not want collaboration? Okay, if everything is from me, I do not need anything. I do not need to talk about interoperability. It's only when you want to collaborate with people, then you talk about interoperability. Now, interoperability, there are different different aspects, okay, in the slide I show you, okay, from the technical to the synthetic to the semantic to the organization and so on. So as you go up and up, so you are talking about more and more abstract, more and more aggregated knowledge. Now, then interoperability become more and more difficult. Just like, I mean, you have some data, I have some data, is the format correct or not? Okay, then this is interoperable, then I can read your data. But if you say you are happy, I'm happy, then what do you mean by happy? Okay, I mean, is your happiness definition interoperable with my happiness word? Okay, so this is the challenge. When you go into the collaboration, when you go into more and more, in particularly into the ecosystem, keep in mind ecosystem have different levels. I mean, even for supply chain, from the manufacturer, for the producer, all the way to the consumer. Okay, what it means may be very different. Okay, may be very different. So then, I mean, one thing I want to emphasize is we can have all this kind of standard. People may not follow for only one reason. What's the value they create for me? Okay, as an example, UPC barcode, okay, under GS1 standard. Actually, this particular standard has been there for more than 20 years, nothing new. It's widely adopted by different stakeholders along the supply chain for internal tracing. That means the warehouse, very, very popular. Why? They see the value. In the past few years, people want to do the so-called track and trace for the food safety using blockchain. Okay, still based on the UPC barcode, it fails. Why? There's no value. You ask all the stakeholders to upload data, but what do I get? Nothing. You impose to me so heavy, okay, on my infrastructure. Okay, my expense is way too much. I cannot recover. Okay, so this is the thing that I want to emphasize. Next slide. So actually, it may be good for us to understand this three words: digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. Then we understand what happened. Digitization, you have the data. You digitize all the things into the data. So you need security. Okay. Then after that, you want to share. You want to operate on the data. So it's the so-called digitalization. Okay, you inject the data into some process, make sure that it can, it can happen, it can be operate. Okay, and then you want to share. Okay, and so on. So this is why privacy enhancing technology will be in place. Then after that, digital transformation is even more. Not only you say I'm doing this, okay, you make sure that this is privacy preserved, but you want to have an innovation, a new business model. This is the key characteristic of digital transformation. Now, if you want to have this one, definitely AI will be in place. That means you want to be smarter. Okay, so you want to borrow something from artificial intelligence, okay, machine learning, and so on. Okay, so this is why if you look at this particular slide from the privacy preserving, at the same time, AI happened. And as a result, privacy preserving meet AI. Then we talk about AI governance. We talk about AI model testing. Okay, responsible AI. All this can come into the picture because of this particular reason. Okay, as the last remark, okay, let me put it this way. If I look back at our centers, okay,
Dr. Shi, could you please wrap up, please?
Yeah, we have three centers. The first center is AI, Smart Nation. Okay, after that, we have the Privacy Preserving Center. Okay, and now last year we have the Digital Trust Center. So this is the evolution in Singapore and how the government look at this particular picture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shi, for the presentation and for bringing to light this issue of protection, security, and privacy privacy as an emerging issue you mentioned. I think this is very important. Perhaps if I could ask you very, very quickly, after I go back to my other two speakers, what would be the main lesson that you would share from Singapore in terms of any specific initiative that you could recommend us to look at from Singapore in terms of ensuring data protection, security, and privacy? Something for us to look at that would be rather interesting for us. So now, Gudrun, very quickly, what do you think about what I asked?
Yeah, thank you again. To come up with the first answer, your question about the DIN Institute and how it consists of, who's contributing to setting up standards and all this sort of thing. Like the two frameworks they're working on at the moment on smart cities, that is like a consortium. The idea of setting up new reference framework came from our model funding projects, from municipalities who found an urgent need to set up standards. So out of the consortium, they came up with this issue, and part of the DIN consortium on smart cities now, I found out that it consists of software developers, it consists of IT service providers, it consists of urban data platform users, also science and research are contributing, municipalities are part of the consortium, and also like group of special interests like the German umbrella or municipal organizations or the German digital associations are joining in. All in all, it's like a group of 40, 50 people discussing on the standards. And it's a process that runs for up to 2 years. It started in May, and we don't expect anything before, let's say, mid 2024. So the second question, keep it short, cybersecurity on the local level. I mentioned we have a cybersecurity agency for the federal level, and they're trying to transform or translate their issues onto the local level now bit by bit. We've asked them to help us out. We had some cyber issues on the local level recently, very recently. And what we need to do is translate it onto the local level. And we're going to set up like a Smart City Academy, and issues also like cybersecurity, not only cybersecurity issues, but any sort of issues will be discussed for the local level in this Smart City Academy. So far, thank you.
Thank you very much, Gudrun. Thank you, Dankeschön, for that. Now I'd like to go to Sasaki-san for the answer to the questions, and to let you know that there is a question for you in the chat as well. There's some person who wants to know more about the CDOS. Perhaps you could reply that in writing when we listen to the closing session. But in the meantime, please, you have the floor.
はい、ありがとうございます。先ほどの質問、他の国において、
Thank you very much for the question. If any other cities around the world would like to realize the interoperability that we have in Aizu Wakamatsu City, what should they do? So I did talk about intercity collaboration and cooperation, but of course there is a need for city collaboration, system collaboration, system cooperation as well. So in Japan, as I mentioned during my presentation, smart city reference architecture has been designed by the national government, which was the key. And if other countries would realize what we have realized, I think there is a need to identify what kind of architecture should be designed based on different backgrounds of each region. And if you would like to introduce this at the regional level, you should refer to different cities and decide with the collaborating cities on way forward. So, and if there are any cities that they would like to collaborate with Aizu Wakamatsu City, what should they do? The the architecture that we have adopted at Aizu Wakamatsu City, it would be great if our architecture becomes the international standard. It would be easier for us to collaborate with other cities around the world. So the architecture is not something that cannot be developed by each city or each region. So therefore, the national government should be the one designing it. But I'm sure that there are different initiatives that are implemented by each region. So therefore, there is a need. I think the national government should avoid interfering the initiatives that are implemented by local governments by coming up with a reference architecture of its own. So I think it is also very important for the private sector to be involved in the discussions to design the architecture. According to my understanding, Japanese government did involve the private sector in the discussions of designing the reference architecture.
Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu, Sasaki-san. As I said, there's a question for you in the Q&A. You could perhaps give more information on the CT operating system of Aizu Wakamatsu. That could be well received, I believe, in written. Dr. Chi, now I go to you very quickly. Any initiative from Singapore?
Okay, I think let's look at it from three different aspects. First, definitely so-called smart nations, smart city, smart nation, because Singapore is small, so they call it smart nation. Smart nation initiative, the government actually pumped in, I think, over $50 million to the universities, okay, to try different projects. A lot of them, they relate to the translational project, meaning that you actually help to implement the so-called AI to solve some real-life problems, okay? So this is one. The other one is bigger. I think now total up to about $260 million funding injected to the so-called AI Singapore, okay? So this is another initiative. It's very big, okay? Keep in mind, this is a small country, okay? Okay, this is not US, okay? Okay, so this is doing that. So we are talking about the smartness. Then after that, at the same time, privacy is important. So government put in $50 million, okay? Doing two centers. One is called the Script Center, the other is called the Encrypt Center. Both are privacy preserving system and technology. Now, why we emphasize the word system? We emphasize on the practicability. I mean, it's not purely research. You write some paper, okay, okay. You talk about the system. I mean, they actually incorporate this into something. Last year, the National Digital Trust Center was formed. It's a $50 million investment at the phase one. Okay, we're expecting something more to come soon. Okay, and then also there's a big difference between this particular so-called DTC center versus the other. The others are university centers. This one is the national center. That means it goes up already to the national level. Okay, so these are some of the major initiative, okay, to illustrate that Singapore actually is moving towards this direction.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Xi, for that, for sharing that initiative and those projects in Singapore. Thank you very much. And with this, I conclude the last panel of discussion of this launch event of the report on the smart cities data governance for the OECD. And to close the webinar, I would like to ask Sujin Kim, Deputy Head of the Cities, Urban Policy and Sustainable Development Division of the OECD, to say a few remarks to close this webinar. Sujin.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for this very rich discussion today. I know we are running out of time, so I'll try to keep it quick. I think all your insights have really helped shed light on the three key questions of the why the how and the who of smart city data governance. I think on the why, we are drowning in this data deluge, as our Deputy Director Nadim Ahmad said in his opening, but I think it's made clear in our discussion that we should remember to put people first and back at the center of smart cities, as our colleague from Thailand mentioned. Second, on the how, I think we shared a lot of enabling factors and solutions ranging from data interoperability, as we heard from Germany, safety from Singapore just now, scalability from the Netherlands, funding, capacity, trust, a lot of important factors there. And then finally, third, on the who, as we heard from Poland in particular, but also Aizu Wakamatsu and all of us here, I think smart city data governance is really not the job of some technical data officers somewhere. It's not only the job of national or local governments or even the private sector only either. It's really a collaborative matter. So as a conclusion, there's much more in our report. So please do read and share our beautiful report. I think you have the link in the chat. Also, if you are interested in pursuing the discussion or to discuss how to receive more targeted guidance from the OECD on the needs of your own city or your country's smart city strategy, please do contact us by email, by LinkedIn. We would absolutely love to discuss how to support you on your smart city journey. And so to close, I would just like to thank Japan once again for your trust and your excellent collaboration throughout the past years. All our guest speakers who have taken us on this world tour of smart city solutions and data governance. And last but not least, my team here at the OECD, and particularly our lead expert, Oscar. So thank you all. Let's continue to be smart in a smart way. Please do keep in touch, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jane, for that. And now, finally, this was coordinated by the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport of Japan. So I would like to give the floor to Yoshihiro Kakishita, Counselor for Global Strategies only, to say just some final words to close this webinar.
Okay, thank you, everyone, Oscar-san, Sujin-san. Well, my camera might have some trouble, so apologize that some still video message with some. Well, anyway, I'd like to thank speakers and the participants at today's webinars, and especially for those who worked hard to produce this report and organize a webinar today. It is essential for smart city services to be equipped with proper governance and a proper framework, we believe, which aims to realize active data utilization while enabling, while ensuring trust in safety, security, and privacy. I'm sure that we have achieved a deeper understanding and wider perspective regarding the idea of data governance through discussion today's meeting webinars. Well, also Japan, we believe that the report on the smart city data governance issued today includes the various types of good practices for smart city services. So we hope that this report will contribute to the policy-making process and will be the good catalyzer for smart cities policymakers across the countries and globally. I would like to say my sincere gratitude for the everyone meaningful exchange of opinions, information we have obtained today. Well, again, thank you very much, and we Japan also very welcome to for further discussion to review the data security or proper smart city development. So we hope have another discussion opportunities to contribute our knowledges. And thank you very much, and please do keep in touch with us. Anyway, thank you very much today.
Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimashita, Kakishita-san. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Emlyn. Thank you to all of you who joined us for this webinar today. I hope you found it interesting. As you saw, please do get in touch with us at the OECD. We'll do our best to try to have the presentations on the website. We had several requests about that. And thank you to the team at the OECD who helped me, who are just behind the cameras for the organization of this webinar. Thank you a lot to Shikiko-san. Thank you so much for the coordination all this time. And to the interpreters, of course, certainly. And to everyone, have a good rest of the day, good day or good night, wherever you are. And see you next time. Thank you.